UGA, game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. We got a little one and done this week for your boy. I get to feel like one of you two slacks this week. Just doing one show. Just doing one show for yours truly this week, and then we'll hand the reins back over to the boys while I continue my football pilgrimage. But I got a great one loaded for you guys tonight. Excited to be here with you. I hope you're happy to be here with us tonight as well. South Florida, the University of South Florida, trying to quote-unquote buy a seat at the table. Not even quote-unquote. This is literally and figuratively. Which one is that? Is this literally buying a seat at the table?
No, it's figuratively.
This is figuratively buying a seat.
If they're literally buying a seat at the table, they're paying to sit
for a seat at the table. So it's almost always figuratively speaking unless it's a charity event. So they are figuratively buying a seat at the table. Apparently Christian Kirby's got beef with an SEC quarterback. I'm excited to hear about that tonight. We have each team's biggest obstacle towards the playoff. We're going to take the biggest favorites according to Vegas and punch holes in their ultimate plans this season. We're going to define success for Missouri, Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Miami. Just some heavy hitters in that group of football teams right there tonight. Oh, man. If that don't get you to stick around tonight, I don't know what the hell will. Coaches with the most to prove tonight as well. And a player you are not giving up on. No matter what the scouting report says, no matter what the momentum of the athlete looks like, you are not giving up on this prospect. We'll talk about that tonight, but I want to open with this. Boys, I got film notes. Now, based on the views of that Garrett Nussmeier film study today, I don't necessarily think the audience wants to hear these notes based off their viewership. But I feel like we've been saying that all offseason with the film studies. I don't know what it is. During the year, film studies do like 5x what our live show does. During the offseason, our live show right now is pulling about 2x what our actual film studies are. So maybe you guys just don't care about the nitty-gritty of the ball knowledge during the offseason. You just want the clicky headlines during the offseason. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe you don't want the genuine content that we're normally here for. So we'll give you the shtick over the next 2 hours that you guys seem to be loving. But I'm going to give you these 10 notes I got from this Nussbus study today. It's really crazy, guys, how studying an individual player, all right, will totally sway either good, bad, or indifferent your viewpoint of a football player as opposed to just watching the collective, right? When for example, last year, I watched LSU versus A&M's defense because I was curious what A&M's defense was looking like. All right. I watched a ton of television copies last year of LSU during Saturdays. If we had an opportunity, always mismatched the windows, it felt like, with the games that we were in person covering. Felt like I watched a ton of them on television last year. I know for a fact, after Florida sacked them 9 times, I went back, or however many times it was, I went back and watched the sack highlights, see what the pressures looked like for Florida. How did they get home at such a high rate, not having that success against other teams? What were they doing, right? Things that spark my interest, I'm always going to go back and watch them. But this is the first time I've watched specifically Garrett Nussmeier, okay? And going into the study, we knew this was a hold-your-breath football player. That's what we thought of him, right? This is a guy that looked like a really, really clean and polished decision maker until the catastrophic mistake, and that was certainly still on tape. But I got 10 notes from this study today. Number one, he's an intangibles guy. This is a coach's kid. This is something I knew about Garrett going into college, having known him at Elite 11 and having known who his father was as a lifer in the NFL world as a football coach. But, man, this is a guy who is very, very obvious when you watch him play. It's a football lifer in and of himself. This is a guy that's been around high-level football conversations for the majority of his adult life, okay? From birth, he's been around football. From adulthood or even adolescence, has been around really high-level football conversations. So he approaches the game with that level of seriousness about the game as well. There's no half-ass with his preparation. There's no half-assness with his decision-making process down to down when you watch him on tape. I will say this about what's up.
It's interesting that you said, because as someone who would be so intangible and is do every little thing right, his decision making doesn't always represent.
Yeah, the 3 or 4 times, and we're gonna get to that. And I'm gonna go ahead and spoil the analogy. You guys aren't golfers, but it's off season, so I'm picking it back up. Played golf yesterday, and this is how I would describe my golf game. It doesn't matter how good I am for 8 holes. I'm going to double and triple 2 holes in a row and just wet down my leg, and it all's going to go to hell catastrophically, real, really quickly. He has a hole. You know what I mean? Like, as a golfer, this dude is shooting -6, and then all of a sudden he's back to even because he had 2 holes of the 18 that were just catastrophic. We're going to talk about how to clean that up as we go on here. But he's an elite arm talent, 25 yards and in. This is something that I was relatively surprised by. This is a football player who is like 6'1.5", is like 205, and is very much so an A- physically in every category. I would say a flat 90 maybe in every physical category. And people, I think, associate him with, oh, he's not a big-armed quarterback. Now, is he going to be able to throw it 75 yards through the roof of the Astrodome? Probably not. All right, this isn't one of those guys. Is he the best deep ball thrower in the world? Is he going to be able to get it 65, 75 yards downfield? No, this isn't one of those. But from 25 yards and in, I think he has tremendous arm talent. Notice I said arm talent, boys, not arm strength, okay? This guy can get juice from every angle. I think that's what we noticed today on the film study. Really, really unique with his ability to drop or manipulate the arm slot, which in my opinion is the definition of arm talent, okay? Arm strength, how far and how fast can you throw it? Arm talent, how many different areas and how many different positions can I put you in and still have you to get elite life and elite juice off of the arm? This is a guy who within 25 yards, I think is an elite arm talent. He's very clearly, I already talked about this, very clearly a smart football player, okay? Plays on time, understands projections, does not pick and stick with his reads. Okay, doesn't pick and stick with his reads. I think some of those catastrophic mistakes, Kirby, at least one we saw on film study today, 3rd and 12, team gives him the simulated pressure. He looks at a read pre-snap that he really, really likes, trusts his mind pre-snap, post-snap, things change, underneath defender drops underneath the outside, the out route, boom, we got an interception. Those types of things happen from him. I think we do have a tendency to lean on our pre-snap indicators a little bit too much. And I think a lot of people forget first-year starter last year. You know what I mean? It's a 3-year guy, but it's a first-year starter last year, so he's prone to make those types of mistakes. The other thing that's noticeable on his film, very, very much so a competitor. Now, most times when that word gets associated with quarterbacks, we think Jackson Dart. We think my man from the ear Mateer. We think about these big physical runners of the football. This is a different level of competitor or different style of competitor. This is the type of competitor that's going to hang inside of pockets, extend plays when he needs to quote, give his guys a chance. I think that's what I love most about his tape today. All right. And when I really, really studied it, he's willing to do whatever it takes for the progression to progress. You know what I'm saying? For his opportunity to present itself. The other thing I noticed, I really like the weapons, to be honest with you. I went in thinking like, oh, this ain't the LSU standard for what we're used to. When you go watch that Baylor game, there are two guys that stick out very, very distinctly. Number 1 and number 3, both of which are coming back, both of which are very slot and Z body type of individuals, which makes the addition of Nick Anderson so massive for this LSU offense. I think he adds some verticality that they were certainly missing. I mean, shit, if they needed to push vertically with a big body target last year, they're having to run it with the tight end number 14, who's a really, really promising football player, but not necessarily like a go-to target getter that we want out there. I really like the OC Joe Sloan. I think he understands the skill sets of his quarterback, okay? Don't see a lot of like, I think my guy's Josh Allen. Don't see a lot of, I think my guy's Mahomes. Don't see a lot of, I think my guy's an athlete when he's not. You know what I'm saying? Very much so playing to the skill sets of his quarterback, and very unique in the red zone when we studied him today as well. I attribute how good you are as a coordinator to what you're doing in the red zone, not how you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm not a stats guy. I'm not going to go out here and fire you off your red zone scoring, percentages, but I might fire you off of what you're doing in the red zone. You know what I'm saying? If you're out here doing stuff that doesn't make sense or doing stuff that lacks creativity, I'm going to have some smoke for your ass on this channel. I thought he had tremendous creativity down there in the red zone, and creativity without execution is dog shit. He has good execution with his players with the creativity that he creates. Now, number 7, you popped the gun on me a little bit, Kirby. I hate the random blowups. I hate them myself. I don't understand them. I can't for the life of me wrap my head around them. He has two types, okay? I'm doing too much, but I don't want to coach that out of him for something I'm going to talk about here in a second. I don't want him to take out the competitive nature that he has by coaching out all the mistakes. You're never going to coach out all the mistakes. But the mistakes I need to coach out are, damn, bro, clearly you didn't see that guy. We can't have those types of mistakes. All right. But some of the stuff that I saw on tape where it's like, hey, man, you think you're Superman. You're not. Let's not do that. He is on some plays, though, Kirby. Some of his extensions, some of his competitive nature, some of his willing to play outside of the script. Man, it's some of their most explosive stuff on tape last year. And you have to remember, Kirby, I know I keep cutting you off here without getting you going.
You're good.
No running game last year. They had 0.
None. It feels like, and just listening off of what you've said and watching him throughout the last year, and even a little bit in 2023, it seems like he has the mentality and kind of not a play style or body type, very similar to Josh Allen, younger Josh Allen, where it was at times like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. He's making really, really good plays. And other times like, you're doing too much right now. You're forcing that. You don't need to do that. And I agree with you.
You're talking about pro year 1 Josh Allen.
Yeah. I'm talking like,
buddy, put it in your pocket. Take a sack.
Like young Bills Josh Allen. Not MVP candidate Josh Allen.
Not even physical stature. Because when you say that, people are going to be like, bro, Josh Allen. Nothing like him.
No, I'm just talking about
style.
Exactly.
I think I'm him. It is there some.
Right, that's the way I'm seeing it. It's kind of goes to those mistakes of you believe too much in yourself, which, like you said, you don't want to coach that out of someone where they don't believe in themselves and they're questioning every single thing, because everyone knows that's another way to get killed as a quarterback.
Here's how I'm going to explain it to quarterbacks that I coach 2 decades from now, okay, whenever this career takes its course. If we have 42 snaps where I'm asking you to drop back, right? Or 42 snaps where you're involved. You're not handing the ball off. You're a pivotal decision maker in the process. Of those 42 snaps, I need you to be boring and complete the task 35 of the 42. Okay. I need you to be a game manager. People think that's such a shitty term, but that's what I need. All right. Tom Brady was a game manager to the 100 millionth percentile. Okay. The best of best, because he never ventured outside of the box when he didn't have to. Okay. 35 of the 42 snaps, I need you to be boring. I need you to eat your chicken and rice. I need you to be a game manager. And then 7 of those 42 snaps, roughly, I need you to be a playmaker. That's when things break down, when the system didn't work, it's time to go be a playmaker. That's what I need. I feel like Nuss went into games last year thinking, I got to make 25 plays today by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that was the case last year, honestly. I mean, offensively, they struggled, like I said, to run the football, struggled interior on the offensive line. But, like, you can't try to be a superhero every time you touch it. But, 5, 6, 7 times a game, we got to push the throttle.
That's why I kind of still favor my take of he's 2021 Stetson Bennett. And that might sound bad to LSU fans if you remember what the Stetson Bennett experience was in 2021. But this player that you never felt like you really wanted to put in a box. You never wanted to hinder him from doing what he tends to do, but it was like one play it's the greatest thing ever, and the next play it's a horrible mistake. But the caveat to that was the next year after being the full-time starter in 2021, there was tremendous amounts of growth, and he found that happy medium with, okay, this is the moment where I got to play hero ball, and these are the other 20 to 30 snaps that I got to be boring and just get the job done.
I do think he's accurate, clean, and consistent in his throwing mechanics. I think that's one. I mean, y'all didn't see this because we haven't released it yet, but we went from watching John Mateer, who would be like watching abstract artist chunk paint at a wall, and then go watching a guy who's like a 3D artist that draws for like buildings. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It would be like, I mean, do you see the videos of the dude spinning upside down or doing a bucket over a black canvas? That's how Mateer plays the quarterback position. And then Nuss is the opposite, like, with a little bit of that.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell is going on until it all comes together? You're like, oh, all right, I see where you're going.
Oh, he actually drew it upside down, and it's the face of Jesus. Yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of the play style that Mateer has, and Nuss is like 85% choir boy. Shit, we caught him with cocaine in his pocket. What's going on here? You know what I mean? It's like that's the disparity of the two quarterbacks we watched today.
How much, now granted, he's going into his 5th or 6th year, so it's kind of an interesting question, but how much of that, of the mistakes, of just where the hell that come from, can you attribute to immaturity as far as inexperience goes?
Honestly, like, no matter how old you are, playing experience is the only thing that matters. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Him and Dylan Raiola got the same exact starting experience.
Yep.
And they're 5 years apart in age, or 4 years apart in age.
Yeah.
So I do think, but I am optimistic because you can see the wit on tape. You can see he clearly knows right and wrong. He clearly knows how to read progressions. He clearly knows how to step up inside of pockets. I think the other thing that was really problematic for LSU last year, they had very little success on the interior of the offense.
Yeah, I was going to say, they did not protect him as well as anyone thought he was going to be protected, because we came into that season thinking, they've got 2 really solid tackles. Garrett Nussmeier, he's a great quarterback from what we've seen in backup. This should be a really good offense, and he just wasn't as protected as he should have been.
And I don't even have to get super nerdy with football with you guys to just ask it this way. If I got 2 first-round guys at tackle, as a defensive coordinator, who am I hunting?
Interior.
I'm gonna hunt the guard to guard. I ain't messing with them 2 dudes out there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why you saw so much spinning out. I think that's why you saw so much running out, because even when pockets were clean, they didn't feel clean up into interiorly, because all year long I've been getting shell shocked with stuff right up the middle. I do expect them to be him to take a leap upon 2 conditions. They have to get a consistent run game created. Some news there on that front today with what's his name transferring out?
John Emery, a former 5-star that tore his knee up last year. Apparently he's hitting the portal. And they got to get more consistent interior offensive line protection. You need protection, boys. You need protection from those smelly, stinking pass rushers. Anybody know where I can get some long-lasting protection?
I've heard a thing or two.
I heard you just mention something earlier today, something I'd never heard of.
Well, you have now. Shout out to our friends over at Mando. All right. Our friends at Mando help you control body odor anywhere. All right. And guess what? You get $5 off today on your starter pack. It's over 40% off with the promo code FGN at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. From the founders of Lumi, Mando whole body deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that correctly. Mandelic acid. Mando has long-lasting 72-hour control that actually actually stops odor before it starts. Big fan. You don't see it on the desk right now because it's up in my drawer. Big fan of the deodorant speed stick. All right. Not one of these that you ever put deodorant on and you're like, good Lord, did I just put a whole bunch of hair gel in my
It's like you got soap in your
Yeah. Not that. Nice and dry, long lasting, 72 hours. Shit still don't stink.
Sounds like a perfect thing. 72 hours is a long time. You got a middle school boy in the house?
Ooh.
Get your middle school child some of that.
They even got wipes. For all your cracks and crevices, as my stepdad would say.
I'm going to have to try these out while I'm off camera.
Shout out to our friends over at Mando. Again, that's shopmando.com. Use promo code FGN for that latest promo. Appreciate those guys for supporting us, man, and help you support your body odor issues over there at shopmando.com. I'm telling you what, we're getting crispy with those.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting crispy with
We're
those.
We're veteran ad readers at this point.
Absolutely. All right, man. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all that good stuff. I always say rate and review because we are made readily available, however, wherever you get your podcast. Just check us out there. These live shows do really well, or should do really well, on podcast as opposed to our film studies. I wouldn't imagine folks watch film study on audio playback.
Be very difficult.
Yeah, it would be. Diddyisms works on audio podcasts. Might have a return of one of those tonight. Spoiler alert. So yeah, you guys get a good chuckle tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Let's get on with it. This USF story, this South Florida story is really, really interesting to say the least. I do have to say, this athletic reporting, at first they're like, hey, great job, USF, investing in football. The back 2/3 of this article is like, hey, yo, USF investing a little bit too much into football. Let's explain what I mean by that. They're spending over $340 million on a new stadium in hopes that it will revitalize their football program. Stadium is set to open in 2027, and it's set to seat about 35,000 people. So in other words, they're spending about $10,000 per seat to build this stadium. They're taking a $200 million loan out to pay for this stadium. They got cut out of the Big 12 expansion per these reports a couple of years ago because they didn't have a stadium of their own. That's what they were told, essentially. At least they weren't given a reason, but they were like, hey, these other guys we took have a stadium. They're like, so we need a stadium? And they're like, we're not going to comment on that. Y'all go build a stadium. So they went and built a stadium, or they're in attempts to build a stadium. By the way, if you keep reading, the $340 million projected cost has already, before they could print the damn article, had already elevated to $400 million. The guy that's in charge of this commonly refers to it as the $400 million building around the place. Now, I got to be honest. I have no idea how I feel about this. One hand of me, it's like, hey, awesome, right? We're dumping a bunch of money into football. The other part of me, the part that carries around or leaves a master's in business sitting on his desk up here all the time and don't really use it. Every once in a while, I apply my business acumen to these types of decisions. And the math ain't mathing, ladies and gentlemen. The math ain't mathing at all. Because here's the deal. This $200 million loan that they're taking out, it's paid out $20 million annually over the next 10 years per the reports. So they're taking a $20 million hit. The reason to build this stadium is for what? To get into the Big 12. All right, or to get into the ACC, or to get into a Power 4 conference, which immediately we now know comes with another $20 million hit because you have to pay your players in rev share models starting in April. Okay, very, very soon. April 25th is the date I keep hearing on that one. So we got a $20 million annual bank loan we got to pay and a $20 million rev share model that we hope to get to pay. That's $40 million already, boom, in the red before we even start praying that people show up to watch the USF Bulls in Tampa, Florida. Don't know if you know the history about professional sports or, media or mid-major sports or whatever sports in Florida, period. I ain't seen a single solitary one of them ever sell shit out. None of them. No matter how good they are. They can't put butts in seats. Okay? So, $40 million net in the red off rip. I did some research today, boys. Any guesses? It's a little bit higher than I thought, not to lead the witnesses. Any guesses on how much annual revenue in 1 year the sports program as a whole brings in at USF?
I'm going to guess somewhere in the ballpark of like 30 to 40 million.
Yeah, like 40 is what I would have guessed.
So they do a little better than you thought. They bring in about $70 million per 2023 and 2022. However, so it's first time in like 10 years, they broke even.
Oh.
Per the reports. So we got $70 million that we bring in. So we think. $70 million that we bring in. We're going to chop 40 of it right off rip. Right off rip. I don't know if that sounds like good business.
No. It doesn't sound like good business to me either, because the two conferences that you're kind of trying to loft yourself for, those two futures for those two conferences in this sport do not feel very firm. It feels like within the next 5 years, it could just be to the point where those two conferences aren't even relevant. So you're pouring this $400 million project into hoping that you get to elevate your program.
I can almost guarantee you they've gotten assurances from the Big 12.
I would hope so.
Because we know,
right,
because of what we've done in terms of show research, that the Pac-12's probably coming back to an extent. And some of these teams might be coming back, which means some of these conferences might be losing conference members. So there might be doors opening for a program like USF, which is the other thing you got to worry about is, are they going to have to do the SMU? Remember SMU came to the ACC and was like, hey, we're so worried about getting left out. Don't pay us for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
And the ACC is like, wait, what? Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't pay us. Just give it to Florida State so they stop suing your ass. You know?
Yeah.
I doubt USF's going to be able to financially do that.
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted to see $70 million. That's a lot of money at USF. I mean, they must have got a good women's softball program or something. Who's out there putting butts in seats with the Bulls?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
In Tampa.
It's such a conflicting thing for me too, because part of me is like, I absolutely get it. Like, you don't want to be left behind, because as much as we talk about the ACC and the Big 12 are probably going to take a backseat to the Big 2. I mean, the American Conference and all these non-power fours are going to be just as much in the backseat. So wanting to get in with those makes a ton of sense. But then the next question is, why not just take a page out of a team that did the exact same thing in your conference 3 or 4 years ago, UCF? You saw them 8 or 9 years ago now have a national title run, did a lot of relevancy, became kind of a national brand name. Now, brand, it was a joke, but enough recognition that the Big 12, when a bunch of teams left them, said, okay, we'll take UCF because they're enough of a brand at this point. Why not use that money, invest it into roster and get players up? Because you can run through the American Conference right now. By the way, there's a group of 5 bids to be had in the college football playoff this year. Why not aim for that to become, hey, we just made a college football playoff. We should be in the Big 12 right now. I don't think that the stadium now, like you said, there's probably some under the table, behind closed doors agreements that would say that that's the case, but I don't know why you would prioritize your facility as much as you would your roster.
Did Golish get hired out? He's still there, the head coach? I mean, everybody seemed like they were ready to hire that guy. Alex Golish is his name, I believe.
Yeah, he's still there.
Still there. Going into year 4, I think, at USF?
Yeah.
Going into year 4. Ball knower, this guy. You can get these shirts right now, link in the description of the video. You too can be a certified ball knower. Also have a Learn Football or Die shirt. I got to get that one myself.
That's a better shirt,
buddy. That thing is lit. That comes straight from an Instagram DM where he thought he was clowning on me. Joke's on you, buddy. We're making money off you. What you were about to say?
I was speaking of facilities. Is like Texas kind of did things the way that you're speaking, Christian.
Wait until the big boy comes to get us.
They waited until they got into the SEC, and then they decided to pour a bunch of new money into the football program, the facilities, and whatnot. But as Brooks is mentioning, though, like, they aren't able to do this because the requirement for them to get into this new conference is you have to have this.
It's a bad gamble. It's a risky gamble, I should say.
Yeah.
But the alternative is to get left behind.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, the alternative is either we're like 5 years from being Army.
Yeah.
In football. Which Army, great football. But you're in the Mountain West, and it's never going to be something that ends up, into a title. Now, if you're USF's athletic administrator, or if you're the president, I'd be looking at this like, buddy, we're never going to be Michigan. We're never going to be Florida. We're not going to be UCF. Why am I giving you well over $250 million? Why am I taking a loan out? Because they could, hypothetically, they could go under You know what I mean? Like the debt could get so bad that the rest of their athletic departments go under.
Yeah.
That's the downside of this. You're either left behind, completely gutted financially, or you make it.
I mean,
and what does make it look like? You're 7-5 in the Big 12?
Yeah, like you're annually the 5th best school in your state. Maybe not even that sometimes. Like maybe sometimes FAU
get you.
Yeah, FAU. It's like that's not even like a firm statement to say that you're annually the 5th best team in your state. So to think that you're going to go into one of these other conferences and start competing, like there's a whole lot of hoops that you got to jump through. Like money aside, everything else.
I mean, we talk about them being 5th or 6th with FAU. They're in a current rivalry with FAU. Their coaches almost fought at midfield last year. Remember?
I forgot about that.
Like we're joking about, but it's serious. They are much closer to FAU than they are UCF. Now, that's part of that's conference realignment.
Sure.
Part of that is whatever it is, Orlando and Tampa. I think I'd rather live in Orlando.
Sure.
Also, biggest public school in the state, UCF. So there's a lot of financial resources made available down there, but nonetheless, yeah, out here beefing with FAU. Speaking of beef, you got some, huh?
Yeah, so this is a topic that I came across on Thursday before we actually didn't do a show then. And I've kind of sat on it for a while, so I'm not as heated on it anymore just because, time. No, don't worry.
Turn it up, baby.
I'm still giving it. Don't worry. So Nico Iamalieva had I guess it's podcast that Tennessee does with their creative team, and he was asked about, walk us through the loss with Ohio State.
By the way, nothing but good comes out of these player podcasts, right?
Nothing.
You all agree? Nothing but great stuff that just makes your program look awesome comes out of these player-led podcasts.
Yeah.
Continue.
Example right here. So he's talking about the loss to Ohio State and all of that, and he gave this quote. He said, "Man, I expected a natty. I'm not going to lie. Came up short, and yeah, man, it was a bummer. A hard loss to take. I think it just motivated the whole team and all of us as a whole to go out there and get one this year." Now, I get where you're coming from. I get the message of, we made it to the playoff this year. We really believed in ourselves. We believed in our team. What about that 2024 roster? What about your offensive output? What about the fact that you were going on the road to a place you haven't played in years made you think that, yeah, natty, easy? It's your first playoff appearance in 15 years. So I think this is another example of having the right message, having the right idea behind we believed in ourselves and it didn't work. But why are you saying I expected it? And why are you doubling down on saying we're going to go get one this year? I think that the biggest problem that all these college football teams, and we talked about with Matt Rule on Thursday last week, of the worst thing you can do is set an expectation. Whether as vague as it want to be of saying, year 3 is our year, or we expected a natty and we expect to go get this one this year, or being South Carolina and saying we should be competing for playoff spots. I don't understand why people set those expectations. The fan base can set it for you when you're one of these higher ups. Georgia has the saying, the standard is the standard. The standard's to win national championships, because the fan base has created that for them and your culture has done that. When you're Tennessee, you haven't won it since 1998. You haven't won a playoff game in the existence of the system. Why is your expectation coming in being like, yeah, national championship, this should be it for us?
I think a more mature answer to, I don't even know what the question was, but I think a much more mature approach to this, and he'll have this in 5 years, is to have the knowledge of the sport that first time goes at it, that they don't go like that. Like, you have to take your licks. You have to, everyone loses, right? The 2021 and 2022 Georgia teams had 18 and 19 and 20 that didn't end well. That Ohio State team went through more licks and more losses than any program that's won a national title in recent memory. There's only hey, we just showed up and now we're a great football program that's won a national title in the last several years, and it's LSU, and they went through growing pains the year before with Joe Burrow's first year starting there. Yeah. So there's a lot of, that's the mature answer of knowing the sport, of understanding that, hey, in every facet of life, you got to go through these growing pains, and that's what we had last year. We had a corrective moment of, hey, we're not quite there yet. Here's where we've got to go to get there. Yeah. I'm with you in the sense that, hey, man, probably had a better way of going about this, as opposed to we expect we expect that it's just going to happen for us. No, that's not how things work. And I know that's not how he said it. But when you talk like that, you might have that mental mindset of, oh, we're here now. We're here. Oh, it's here. We're ready to win a title now because we got into the playoffs, so we're ready. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, and like I said, the longer I sat it, the more I understood where he was coming from. If we believed in ourselves, we believed we had all the things that we need, all the tools to win that. But you can't come out and say we expected that.
Yeah,
it makes it seem like you were entitled to it. Like,
yeah, I think there's like a fine line of showing the confidence that you have in yourself and your team. And I think that's what he's trying to say when he said we expected to win a national title. I think that's the same thing that he's trying to connote when he's saying that we're going to get another crack at it this year. Definitely want to have confidence. And you have to think too, like up until 3 years ago, these types of conversations were not had around Tennessee, and really not until this past season could they officially start labeling themselves as a national title contender just because they made the college football playoff. But I'm completely with you, Christian, still on like setting these types of expectations is unnecessary and you're not doing yourselves any favor. And you have to be very careful in how you phrase this confidence that you have about your team.
All you had to do is change expect to we thought we could win a natty.
We're going to fight for another one this year.
And all of that is all this. We're not even having this conversation. When you say expect, it's wordplay. It's simple wordplay, but
and I'm not saying this because they are technically competition. But just stop with the player-led podcast.
Yes.
Nothing good comes out of them.
I don't know. I think somebody should invest millions of dollars into it at one of these big programs.
Maybe like, I don't know, maybe like $15 million a year over the next 20 years.
Yeah, like Texas A&M would be great for this.
Oh, yeah. They got so many notable players right now.
Yeah.
They should sit down and spend $15 million annually on a licensing deal for, hey, what's your favorite pizza topping?
I'm embarrassed.
Someone needs to get on this.
I'm embarrassed to say it took me a lot longer than it should have to get that reference.
There's people listening right now. Like, what are they joking about sarcastically? Dump loads of money into that one. Sure, it's gonna bang.
You had a follow-up question.
Yeah, I did, man. Because like, this is him speaking. You know, this is him being vocal about his role and about his team. And it has been very, very clear, even as a quote-unquote outsider, even though I'm far more plugged into a lot more SEC programs than I think most people come to this network and see, oh, Georgia homer. Some of your favorite teams' coaches are in the phone book as well. The more and more I'm plugged in and the more and more I listen, it's very clear to me that Josh Heupel has, I think the term is challenged Nico to be a more vocal leader, because this isn't a guy that run it. You know, this is a guy that's going, hey, watch me play with my heart on my sleeve, like we saw him do against Georgia and like we saw him do against Ohio State. Cracked his damn helmet in half, continue to play. There's no doubt this dude is a warrior in between the snaps and in between the whistles and in between the lines. But there is a question about whether or not he is this boisterous personality, or whether or not he is this, hey, don't worry about it, I got it type of leader. And my question to you guys, and my question to everyone listening to this today is, does your quarterback have to be your alpha? Right? Does he have to be one of the guys that everybody can look to? Does he have to be the face of your program? Does he have to carry himself like that? Because the history of the sport kind of tells me that he does have to be. And I'm not casting anybody out, because there are caveats to this. There are exceptions to this rule. But when I look at the landscape of college football, I'm not saying you got to be a 5-star or the number 1 overall draft pick to win a title, but you definitely have to have a little something about yourself. You have to have intangible traits. You have to have I elevate the room traits, right? I look at J.J. McCarthy. He had this. Okay, say what you want about the player that J.J. McCarthy is. Say what you want about how much they ran the football at Michigan. But when all shit went haywire in 2023, I saw J.J. McCarthy in front of a microphone far more than I did Jim Harbaugh. I saw J.J. McCarthy talking about it's we versus them far more than I heard Jim Harbaugh. All right, I saw so much more of a, hey, everybody look at me when shit goes haywire, we're going to be calm. You see it even in his play styles. 3rd and 12, we need a big-time play. Who are we going to look? Everyone in the building knows it's JJ, and JJ would get things done. Stetson Bennett certainly had this about him. All right, there was I'll never forget, after the Florida game in 2020, Nolan Smith going to the microphone and saying, hey, y'all stop talking about that guy. That's our guy. That's my guy. That's my quarterback. All right, that's a different level of this dude's got it factor, right? Joe Burrow breeds it factor. All right, the kids call it aura today. Joe Burrow invented aura. We all know this. Invented it. It's on the damn board up here somewhere. The motherfucker smoking a cigar. He invented aura. The guy is it factor. Okay, I look at Trevor Lawrence. He led in a very Clemson way in college. You know what I mean? Very much so the Clemson leader at the quarterback position. Now, there are quarterbacks that have never been labeled this quote unquote it factor guy, or, oh man, he's like a shepherd. Everybody just follows him, right? I never heard this about Will Howard. I never did. But guess what? Will Howard had the best damn roster around him that money could buy. All right. And the other dudes, when they talked about him like this. They would talk about how much they loved their quarterback. Okay. I look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young was never one of these, right? Never a big time, I'm going to get in front of the room. I don't think he's like this today. I think he's very much so inward. I think he's very much so reserved within himself. However, that dude's skill set made people around him believe in themselves. And by the way, arguably had the best wide receiver core that college football's ever seen. All right. I know Ohio State fans going to give me some pushback on that one. However, dude had dudes around him.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the caveat is if you're not going to be this one-of-one alpha mentality leader of the room, you have to have the talent around you to supplement. I don't think Stetson Bennett was necessarily that in 2021. I don't think he was the alpha mentality. He was very much like, this guy's out here right now, but 1 second he might be JT Daniels ball. And then until the alphas in that room, the Nolan Smiths, the Nakobe Deans, all the guys that were the alphas there backed it up, was kind of that. I think you could say the same thing for Mac Jones in 2020. Mac Jones was by far the best quarterback in that year, statistically, but it was supplemented by Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and a really good defense. So if you're not going to be this one-of-one alpha, you have to have the supplementation to make that work.
I think it doesn't have to be vocally, but I think you as a quarterback have to have some type of gravitational pull that pulls people into you. It doesn't even have to be vocally. It could be just as simple as when this guy's on the field, we all kind of relax a little bit. Like we just feel a lot more comfortable knowing that this guy is the one under center. And so it doesn't, like whether it's juice or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be like this, I speak for the team or anything like that. But if people are pulled to you, then I think that's what's more important than anything.
I thought you were about to make a Lorax reference.
Huh?
I thought he was about to make a Lorax reference.
I thought he was going to make the Family Guy reference where Peter's so fat he has his own gravitational pull. They start throwing TVs around him and it floats around his belly. It's a classic skit, man. But nah, I am of the belief that my quarterback better be one of my two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We really, every room, every team really has one or two guys that when all hell breaks loose, we look to that guy. Quarterback better be one of them.
This ties back to the Nico thing, though. Can you fake that?
No.
If it's not naturally you, can you force that?
No, you cannot. But what you can do is be so supremely talented that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're just a baller, all this stuff doesn't matter, but it matters Monday through Friday.
Right.
You know what I mean? Being able to get guys up every single day and have them play amongst themselves. Question from the chat, was Landon Dickerson an alpha leader at Bama? Was there for 2 years, and I would say yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yeah. I mean, when your teammates are crying because you tore your knee up during the SEC championship game, I mean, not just like crying when you're on the cart, but showed emotion on the sideline when you returned to it. I would say he was one of those guys. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always have to be a quarterback, but it damn sure helps if it is. Now, I think those Bama rosters are so elevated in terms of overall talent.
It's filled with alphas.
Yeah, that it doesn't really apply to these guys. If Tennessee had one of those rosters, I wouldn't be saying this. And if Tennessee had one of those rosters, you know who else wouldn't be talking like this? Josh Heupel. It wouldn't be a problem. And I'm not saying it is a problem, but it's something that he's voiced need to happen this offseason, which points to it. You know what I mean? Speaking of pointing to it, I think Vegas odds give us a relatively decent viewpoint of who they think rosters are ready to win a national title. Yeah. And if you look at it, there are 5 teams scattered between plus 600 and plus 800. And then there's Notre Dame at the 6th spot at plus 1200. So outside of this range of these 5 teams, those 5 teams, plus 600 odds, Ohio State, plus 650, both Texas and Oregon, plus 700, Georgia, plus 800, Penn State. And like I said, there's a massive drop-off after that. So what we wanted to do today is go through and point to the biggest obstacles outside of scheduling about these 5 football teams. Now, I'm going to let you know, of the 4, the highest favorites in Vegas right now to win a national title, all 4 of them got first-year starters at the quarterback position.
Sweet.
So what you ain't going to hear from this desk right here today is talks about quarterback play. Well, they got a first-year starter. All 4 of them do. And then there's Penn State, who we'll talk about. But let's start with Ohio State, boys. What are the obvious obstacles in this roster or on this football team? I think you have to start with the fact that they got 2 brand new play callers. Now, I know Matt Patricia's called plays at the NFL level for 15, 20 years. First time with this unit calling plays. That matters. I know Brian Hartline had a stint as an offensive coordinator that didn't go so well. First time calling plays with this quarterback, with this offensive line, with these running backs. So you have to start with that. Brand new coordinators, both quality coordinators, we believe. Well, we believe Matt Patricia to be a quality coordinator, depending on who you listen to. I don't know what Brian Hartline is going to look like as an offensive coordinator, because even under his first promotion, I don't know how much of that was actually his. I think by game 3, Ryan Day was calling plays. So we'll see about that. I think the major issue with Chip Kelly leaving, however, is I think their run game is going to take a massive hit from a stylistic standpoint. I think Chip Kelly, during his time as a college football coach, whether it be head coach or offensive coordinator, I thought he had some of the most diverse and efficient run schemes that the sport had seen. At Oregon, they ran the piss out of the football really, really well. At UCLA, with nothing at the quarterback position and wide receiver position, they were out a 12 personnel run, the piss out the rock. All right, and then he gets to Oregon State, or Ohio State rather, and Judkins, and obviously my man 32.
Travion Henderson.
Obviously, Travion Henderson had a great year this year, but they really elevated the style of run that Ohio State was playing with. And I think that's going to take a hit. I don't worry about their pass game concepts because they didn't change all that much this last year. It was the same Ohio State passing game concepts added with the flavor of Chip Kelly in the run game. So it's the run style that I worry about. You add on top of the fact that you lost 2 great offensive linemen. One you played without most of the year last year, the big left tackle. But you lose 74, your swing player that played guard and tackle for you. Obviously, McLaughlin didn't finish the year for them, but I don't think he's coming back. So there's a lot of moving parts there. Obviously, new quarterback, new running backs. But the biggest concerns for me, 2 coordinator changes is massive.
Yeah. I think another thing that's kind of going under the radar for an obstacle for them this year is someone needs to step up in that wide receiver room.
Yeah.
You have Jeremiah Smith. That's fine. But Jeremiah Smith was so effective because you couldn't just hone in on him last year. You had still had Emeka Egbuka to worry about. They've always had this kind of 1, 2, even 3 punch at wide receiver where it's like, damn, there's too many of them to cover. If someone doesn't step up in their room with Jeremiah Smith, defenses can hone in on him and take him away.
2 names, Carnell Tate, they retained.
Yep.
Flirted with the portal. Brandon Ennis. And then apparently a freshman who they think's better than Garrett Wilson.
Well,
which
he wears number 5.
And he ran a skinny post at like 75% speed. And clears Brandon Ennis. So says the Ohio State fan base.
Oh, boy.
By the way, it's not just the team we cover. It's all of them. All of you jamokes. You see one video on social media, and you're like, hey, that 5-star we had 2 classes ago, he is dog shit. This new 5-star, though, whew, man. Wait till y'all see this guy. He's got to play right now. Got to play right now, coach. You're an idiot if you don't.
So, I mean, they have the talent. They're always going to have the talent at Ohio State, the receiver position. But someone's got to step up and elevate so that Jeremiah Smith doesn't get double covered the entire game.
I think for me, it's having this thought process that you have to keep pace with what you were last year, because immediately when you start out this next season, if you don't feel like you're on the pace that you were last year, it's going to feel like you're going to be very underwhelming because you aren't to the caliber of what you were last year to win a national title. Now, they have arguably the 2 best players in college football in Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith.
Yep.
So I think that solves a lot of your issues, and the fact that those 2 players on both offense and defense can help with this.
And one of them's a pseudo coordinator.
Yeah,
I mean, Caleb Downs is a player coach.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's those 2 players being on your roster alleviate a lot of this, but you're replacing a lot of names. I mean, you rattled off a bunch of them already, especially on both sides of the ball, but specifically for defense, I just think that there's just like underlying belief that we have to keep pace now.
Let's move on because we're running short on time. Let's move to Texas. Obviously, new quarterback. But The reality is, I think they lost dudes up front.
Yes, they did.
I'm talking about really, really good football players. 48 or 45. I think it was 90 big nose tackle. 90. They lost Bill Norton, who played a lot of snaps for them as well. An edge rusher that's gone as well. Now, Colin Simmons returns. The linebacker that's really, really great. Anthony Hill returns for this roster. Taft. Michael Taft returns in the back end. Good job, boys. See, when I was by myself, we just rolled. Football brain would have just been out here. People would be like, this guy doesn't know shit. But anyways, I do think there are some key parts. But man, every time I watched Texas last year, I would come back and I'd say, that might be the best front six I've seen since 2021 Georgia. And I'd say that over and over and over again. You guys wouldn't believe me, but they were the number one defense in the country last year. Most of that had to do with that front six domination that they had, on top of the fact Andrew Makuba, not here. Jahdae Barron, no longer here. I think Makuba's got a chance to be top 65 guy, top 70 guy. Jahdae Barron's first round lock at this point, it looks like. So those are really good football players in the back end that I didn't even think were great erasers back there, but the heart and soul of that defense was that front six, and most of those guys are gone. Now, the highlights return from the edge rushing position and the linebacker position, but I am worried about all the dudes that they lost up front. I do, however, think that Texas can be able to run the football even better than they did this year. They were a run-first football team this year.
Yes, they
Big
were.
wide zone football team. This year, I think it's going to look not different, but better, because you got a quarterback that balances counts, but B, C.J. Baxter's coming back for this football team, who was my number one running back coming out of high school. So I'm extremely bullish on him. Had a great freshman year, tore his knee up last spring, and then that was it for him in terms of a redshirt or a sophomore season. But man, they didn't just lose good players. They lost great players. That's the biggest obstacle for Texas. Here's the good news for Longhorn fans listening to this. Now, granted, not a great portal patch of players this year, but it wasn't like they were out here doing heavy portal additions this offseason like they did the last previous years.
No, it's not.
So they must like what they have already on roster.
I think there's two big obstacles for Texas. One, the road schedule's tough. You got to go to the Swamp, which it's a tough environment to play in. You play Ohio State week 1, and then you play Georgia and Athens. Those are three really, really losable environments. You lose those 3 games, you're 9-3. You can't lose another single game there. Now, the schedule's kind of easy. But I think the other thing that is a really big obstacle for them, and it's kind of one that we don't talk about enough, there's no safety net for you at quarterback this year. Starting Arch Manning is fine. I think we believe that he's going to be a good quarterback.
Not a big KJ Lacey fan, are you?
It's not that I'm not a big KJ Lacey. I don't think he's as proven. And we're going on for 3 years straight. The backup quarterback has started a regular season game for Texas.
Yep.
Like, Quinn Ewers could not stay healthy. I'm not saying Arch Manning's not going to be able to do that, but it felt better when you had, hey, Malik Murphy's really talented, or finally we get to see Arch Manning start a game out. I don't think there's that same energy around the backup quarterback right now. And so if you go down without Arch Manning, you might be in trouble.
For me, it's just simply pressure. I think there's a lot of pressure around that program. Like, sharks circling around. Not that Sarkisian's on some hot seat, but you got beat by Georgia twice last year, and now you have Arch Manning, this 5-star quarterback, the chosen one, maybe many would claim. It feels like it's getting to that point where it's like, we gotta win one. It feels like our window's now. There's a lot of pressure on that program.
All right, let's move on to Oregon. Man, everyone loses dudes nowadays in these top classes and these top schools. They all got great players going to the NFL. The type of player that Dan Lanning lost.
Core
lifers, Lanning lifers, like dudes that were either there when I got there or the first guys I brought in. I'm talking about the Bosses of the world. I'm talking about the Terrence Fergusons of the world. Those aren't guys that he had to bring in. Those are guys that were still on the roster from Mario Cristobal's hangover, and they were like, you know what? I'm going to stick with this Lanning guy, and I'm going to be a staple here for him. They're gone. You look at the guys that he brought in as portal additions when he first got there. Jordan Birch was his biggest addition in my mind, gone, off the roster now. Guys like the wide receiver, Tresman, gone, off this roster. So I do think this is we got to find leaders on this football team, and it worries me, just like it did last year when I looked up and they had 5 new defensive backs in the backfield.
Right.
This year they have 3 new brand new offensive linemen just got there.
And we're
patchworking through the portal. And I understand it because of the way that they recruit. We're signing 12 to 15 top 200 guys, and then we're going to the portal. And the reason being, They gotta overpay to get guys to go out to Oregon at that level, and they have no 5-hour radius. What you gonna go do? You gonna go recruit offensive linemen from the state of Washington, from Oregon? You gonna go to Portland and pick up a 5-star offensive? No, it ain't never happened.
Northern Cali, maybe.
Northern Cali, maybe. All right, you're right there. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to go into Southern Cal with what USC's got going on. So I understand why the roster's built the way it is. It's just not historically a way to win. Right? Historically, a way to win is we sign 25 to 28 high school kids and we bring in 5 portal guys, not 15 and 15. That's not normally how it works.
Yeah, for me, it's offensive continuity. That specifically for me, because you've had a lot of success with Oregon, even despite having to bring in new coordinators multiple times. But you lose a starting quarterback, you lose your starting running back, you lose starting wide receivers. You're having to rely on a transfer left tackle now. I mean, the wide receiver depth chart quickly gets to DeCorian Moore, the true freshman wide receiver. It gets real tight.
Dude, by the way.
Who is? So that may not be that big of an issue, but just the overall continuity of there's a lot of new pieces coming into this offense.
And you get another year of Evan Stewart without Tresman. It's Tresman Marshall, right? No, that's the linebacker from Georgia. Who is the slot receiver that just left?
Tez
Johnson. Football brain. Let's be quick on Penn State. We're gonna skip Georgia because we're doing it in the local hour. Penn State, I got 4, which 3 of them are annual obstacles for these guys. Well, actually, all 4 are. Number 1, James Franklin. Ooh. Rough when your head coach is an obstacle, but I think he's a good football coach. I do.
What about him makes him the obstacle, though?
Well,
I understand
perception.
The statistics in the record are there, but
can't win big game, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, he ain't beat a top 5 Ohio State Michigan team since he's been there, right?
He beat them once, and I believe it was.
Were they top 5?
2016, I believe they were. I think they were undefeated when he
got Ohio State at home, right?
Yeah, that was that pop block field goal.
That was the night Justin Fields committed to them. You didn't know about this, did you?
Oh yes, I did.
Fields went to a whiteout and committed.
He was a Penn State before.
Yeah, he was. I got Ohio State and Oregon as massive obstacles for these guys.
Fair.
They missed Michigan on the schedule this year. Very 10-2 schedule. A fan base should expect them to be 11-1 type vibes. But the main problem, absolutely no weapons.
Yeah.
Not a weapon one.
This is my biggest thing for them, not because you obviously need weapons, but I think that it quickly gets forgotten of what Penn State did in the regular season last year. You had a close call with Bowling Green at one point. You had a close call with USC at one point. You had a close call with Minnesota there at the end of the season. That very quickly could have been derailed. So you don't have playmakers this year that can bail you out in these situations where, hey, we got Minnesota on the ropes. We need to hit Tyler Warren for an explosive play. I don't know if you have that this year. I don't know if you have an Abdul Carter this year that can get you out of hey, we need the ball back right now.
We got Minnesota on the ropes. I'm with you. Let's be quick. There's a lot of meat left on this National Hour bone for you guys to pick at tomorrow. So that's good.
Well, that's good because we're slackers, so we don't have to do show notes tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's
two slackers.
So you lean into
that's what the vibe
bit.
is.
I can't do that, man.
It is what it is.
Make a joke of the joke.
I mean, old Stretch over here told me he's got a week off coming up. A whole week.
When? For what?
Going on a cruise to Mexico.
A cruise?
Yep.
Spring break.
Oh, yeah, because we have spring break.
I don't have spring break.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, sorry.
You're breaking during the spring, though, ain't you?
Nah, if we're being fair. That Vegas trip was the spring break. But I didn't miss a show for it, so.
It's my football pilgrimage.
You did not just say that.
A player you're not giving up on. All right, this is what we're going to end the National Hour with. I got 5 for you. Number 1, I kind of feel stupid for doing this, but I don't.
Ooh.
Stop number 2, maybe it works out for Marvin Jones Jr.
Is it stop number 3?
It's stop number 3, but it's transfer number 2.
Yeah.
And here's my thought process here. There wasn't a single solitary soul that was going to be a good football player at Florida State last year.
It appeared there wouldn't be. No.
That the whole organization felt like it quit about week 3. All right. So I'm just going to mark it up as you chose the wrong school to transfer to. Probably made a decision based off money. Also, your dad played there. So there is that. Now we go to Oklahoma in a system in Venables that Now, he ain't going to be on the field every single play. They don't play anybody like that. They rotate a bunch of bodies and throw a bunch of different shit at the wall. But I like the idea. That's what they do defensively.
I know.
That's what they do. They throw a bunch of shit at the wall.
Yes.
And a lot of it sticks. But I do think year 3 for him, it's year 4 for him now, right? I think year 4 for him might be in a decent system. Let's get after it. Spent 2 at Georgia.
Yeah, he did. He was there in 22.
He's got a ring.
I mean, based on what he showed you as a freshman at Georgia, and even in 2023, I would say giving up on him is a mistake. And you're absolutely right. Like, the stink and stench of that Florida State team is so apparent. Like you said, there was no one on that roster that looked good. So I don't think it's unfair to say that you're not giving up on anyone from that Florida State roster that transferred out.
Number 2, this is a high school projection, Williams Winery. Also, you probably selectively redshirted last year, so we didn't even get to see whether or not you were good.
Dipped.
What does concern me, massive weight gain. Have you seen the Nebraska roster on this guy? I think he's listed at 6'7", 275. Will you look that up for me?
He's 0 now.
Dude, this is a guy, right? It's a 3 moving inside every day, it feels like. This is a guy coming out of high school that I think played at 240. I think he's put on 30 pounds in college.
Wow.
He's at Nebraska now. What's he listed at?
They have him at, 6'7", 255.
Okay, so maybe he cut some Missouri weight off. I remember looking at a Missouri roster and I'm like, he's how big? What? Might be an offensive tackle if we're not careful. Number 3, Nick Anderson. Another one of these, I'm hurt coach. Last year at Oklahoma, I think he's going to do big things at LSU this year. Number 4, Zach Branch. Number 5, I'm buying because everyone's selling. Drew Aller got too many traits. Now, I'm not buying a shitload of this stock. I think it's
giving up on Drew Aller.
It's a Dogecoin type vibe. I'm gonna hope I catch one of them high arcs and then bail immediately, dump the stock because a stern down peak coming soon.
I think I might be a little early to say I'm not giving up on this player, but there was a lot of hype coming into the Mike Matthews campaign at Tennessee, and it stopped very, very quickly. So much so that it was first, where's Mike Matthews? Why is he not on the field? And then it became, he must not be very good. To the point now where it's kind of like, hey, it's a prove-it year for Mike Matthews. I'm not giving up on Mike Matthews yet.
They lost 8 wide receivers out of that room from a year ago. A room that was terrible.
Yeah.
That was not very good, was not very healthy. Mike Matthews is the only answer.
He's got to be.
Has to be.
Him and Brew McCoy.
I'm with you.
My 2, because I also had Mike Matthews. Justice Haynes, I think him going to Michigan, run heavy offense, I think he's going to do well, get some big numbers for him. I think that's a good one. And then call me crazy, Harold Perkins is going to get back on it this year. There's just something about it, man. It's hard to ignore what he was, even if it was, 3 years ago now?
All that attention that boy went weeks fitting to draw this year from offensive guards.
Open up Harold Perkins, baby.
Perkins stock. I like it.
You got any more?
Yeah, I'm not giving up.
This is the Harold Perkins pick for you.
This is worse than Harold Perkins, dude.
Ooh.
I thought coming out of high school, because it was the same time as I was coming out of high school, I thought Justin Flo was going to be the most generational linebacker we've ever seen. Future NFL Hall of Famer. He has not lived up to the hype yet. He's battled some injury issues at Oregon. He's at Arizona now. I am buying and staying on the Justin Flo hype train for one more year. I'm not giving up on him yet.
You know, for someone who claims to love special teams as much as this guy, for him to make that comment about thinking Justin Flo was going to be a Hall of Famer, he's still got opportunities, baby.
Of course he does.
You ain't watching the Arizona special teams tape. That's what you're not watching, because that dude is the same lunatic that he was in high school on kickoff.
We don't have the picture, do we?
Murders.
No, we don't have the picture.
So if you're watching this right now, just go to Justin Flo. You're going to pull it up? I'm
going to pull it up.
He's a maniac, and he has always been a maniac, to the point of it made me be like, oh, this guy's a lunatic. There's no way he's going to fail in the league. But I legitimately thought, and if you have free time, go watch his huddle, him and Upland. He made running backs look like they were 30 pounds, like little children, just slamming them on the ground. Genuinely thought he was going to be a incredible player. Has not lived up to that yet. But
all right, let's get that awkward screenshot where we zoom in on Brooks's teeth, and he tries to get the photo up for you guys to focus on. Lunatic.
That's the
absolute lunatic.
That's his ESPN profile.
He's got the chain on, dude. Lunatic. I couldn't tell in that video whether he drives a white sketch van or whether or not he's or whether or not he drives a white sketch van. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I'm not giving up, man.
Yeah.
I still believe.
We see where all the NIL checks went, though. I mean, he's diamond studded in the ears, and
He got a fresh lineup too.
I mean, he got to wear the neck roll just for the necklace around. Any other stocks you buying?
Nope.
We got a whole nother hour coming up, and we're going to start this hour with one of our favorite segments. Shout out to the Diddyisms. I about made a Diddy joke with that photo of Justin Flo, but I chose not to. But instead, we're going to bring you Diddyisms.
Lovely.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. Let's shut up and let's grind. Now, I don't know if this one's going to go in. We're going to find out, Jonathan, who is a glutton for punishment today. All right, that's what we are going to find out. I got to get hands on the penetrator. Shoot my hands and get that penetrator off. Guess who's going to come right back into my face? And they're not going to put two D's in one hole. So we got guys giving it up front side. We got to find the space and put it in there. All right. And big meat up front with speed behind it. All right, dude in front of me's trying to stretch right there. That ball spit on right there from Aaron Murray. Good shit. All right, now I've said a lot of sus stuff on this network, but we gotta find the hole and stick it in there. It's
the name of the game, man.
It's crazy work.
That's what it's all about.
Just giving it up front side. Whoa. Whoa.
Big meat and speed from behind is pretty funny.
Big meat and speed from behind. Big meat up front and speed behind it.
Crazy.
Welcome in. We got a whole nother hour coming up for you guys, and it is indeed our local hour. We finna talk that dog. We got Jared Curtis's massive announcement that cost me a couple hours of sleep tonight and had one of the most sussy things ever said on this network today during the film study about a 7. Yeah, okay. You don't remember that one. You need to mark that one down. It is hella Diddyism.
What film study was that?
The one that released today on Garrett Nussmeier. Kirby Smart on his 2024 coaching job, a sit-down interview with friend of the show, Josh Pate. We'll get to that. Spring stock options based on what we've seen and heard. Who are we buying stock in? Georgia's biggest obstacle in 2025 other than the schedule. We also have nostalgic and player tape coming for you guys tonight. But if I don't address this, then I'm labeled the Homer reporter that dodges ugly stories. So let's start with the news from this weekend of Marquise Easley and Nitro Tuggle being suspended indefinitely from the football program. Guys, I'm exhausted. I am absolutely sick and tired of this topic. But I have to talk about it, so I'll regurgitate the same exact take that I gave the last time some dumbass decided it was a good idea to drive around the city of Athens like it's the Daytona 500. Here is the take. I don't doubt that Kirby Smart has done everything in his power to stop this. He's threatened them. He's punished them. He's even gone as far as to fine them. It's not technically a fine because they're not technically on a contract, and legally you can't say that you're fining people, but there has been NIL money withheld from people in these types of decision-making processes. He's even had people come in and talk to them. I think during the SEC Media Days last year, the number had escalated to 250 moments where they have addressed this topic. Hey, dumbasses, quit driving like dumbasses around this town. But for some reason, ain't nobody listening. And that's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that Georgia, over the years that I have been studying them, this is my 7th season covering the University of Georgia and studying the game of football at a really, really high level. Georgia is the most down-to-down disciplined football program you will find in between the whistles, in between the lines. They listen to everything that their coach tells them about football. But for some reason, this one message just won't come through. It won't adhere to these young players. Over all of these arrests and all of these speeding violations and all of these things that have happened since that January date in 2023, we're well past 2 years removed from a very tragic moment in the University of Georgia's football timeline. All right. Since all of that, the biggest and most damning arrests are three. Well, really two. It's the DeMello Jones incident and the Marquise Easley incident. Now, why are these two the most concerning to me over the 20 plus that we've had since, January of 2023? Well, the reason they're the most concerning and most damning to this program for me is because those two incidences, DeMello Jones speed racing in downtown Athens and Marquise Easley very obviously racing and wrecking into an apartment at late night in Athens, those two are the most concerning to me because they both occurred within 12 months of those two young people being on campus, which means one thing in my mind. It is far more apparent to young people when they join the roster at the University of Georgia that we race. That's what we do. We drive stupid around here. It's far more apropos for them hearing that message than, hey, dummies, we don't do this shit no more. We shouldn't have been doing it in the first place, but we do not do this. These are two young people, boys, that within 12 months on campus have clearly heard, this is what we do around here. We get in our cars that are really expensive and we drive fast. As opposed to, hey, coach has been talking about this since we've gotten here. We probably shouldn't do this. That's the really, really weird part to me. And for the life of me, I can't understand it. I can't figure it out. And people say, well, they got to kick him off the team. They kicked David Daniel off the team during SEC Media Week last year, during the summer. You do this shit, you're gone. That was the sentiment. Then Daniel Harris midseason. Now these two. It's just weird. It's weird, and I have no answers for it, and I'm tired of giving the take, to be honest with you, but I have to give the take, or else I'm burying the lead. I'm a guy who don't want to talk about bad stuff around the University of Georgia. And look, the first 6 times I was willing to listen to these Athens Clark County Police Departments, they just out here doing stupid shit. I ain't never been arrested for getting a speeding ticket. The first 6 times I was with you. All right. The other 16 times I was with, hey, young people do young stupid shit. I'm with you. We're well past that one. We're to the point of y'all clearly do not listen to this message.
Yeah, there's unfortunately very little to add to that, and there's very little that you can say, and there's no solution that can be offered. You know, there can be people that shake their fist and say, Kirby Smart must hold these people accountable and must punish them accordingly, and he's refusing to do so, which is leading it to happen. We've talked about it. They have taken what seems to be all the steps you can take to prevent this from happening, and it's something that is just not going away. There's no easy solution to it. I don't think the three of us can come up with one.
I think the only solution is one that he has chosen not to take. It can't be the third string safety that's never really played here that got to go.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but when Daniel Harris got arrested for a driving violation mid-season, he probably should have been gone. And then the next ones don't happen, I don't think. It's one thing, and you know how 19-year-olds work.
Oh, yeah.
20-year-olds work. When you kick off the third string safety that looks like he's never going to play here, and then the starting corner who just won a job gets in trouble, yet he gets to stick around and run sprints.
It's not a great look.
It's not a great look. All right? So I don't know what to do. And look, I'm all for second chances, and I agree. Young people make mistakes. But this is repetitive at this. It's been repetitive. We're well past repetitive. We're into ridiculousness at this point.
Yes, we are.
All right, enough. Let's start the actual show. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, reviewing with this Jared Curtis quote-unquote big announcement. Now, I was a teammate just being a teammate yesterday. I stayed up till 2 o'clock for this. But you stayed up to 2 o'clock to actually cover a nothing story. So I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the whole night of... I don't know when exactly he posted this on his Instagram story, but
Yesterday
Jared Curtis...
evening?
It's something like, I think it started with 5 hours of Jared Curtis puts, big news coming in 5 hours. Now, of course, my initial thought was, so midnight Eastern time, we're going to get some big announcement. Don't know if it's a commitment, don't know if it's an NIL deal that he's going to be promoting, or don't know if it's a commitment announcement. So we get everything prepped, waiting around till midnight, and then you of course, like, hey, he's on Central Time. This is actually 1 a.m. for us. Like, okay, stay up till 1 a.m. for this big announcement. 1 a.m. hits, refresh. Nothing ever happens. 10 minutes go by, nothing. 15, 30, nothing goes by. To the point where I said, I'm going to stay up until 2 a.m. for this and see if anything happens. And then if it doesn't, then whatever. You got me at 3 a.m. I didn't get to report the news. I'll wait till the morning. To then at 11 a.m. this morning, we get Jared Curtis will be committing on May 5th.
This strikes me as Hayes Fawcett's edit wasn't ready.
You think so?
That's what it strikes me as.
You don't think it's a troll job by an 18-year-old?
He fell asleep and didn't wake up until 11 o'clock the next morning.
Or I would get all these media members to stay up late,
let's get
wait
these
for
boys
this
to
big
stay up till
announcement.
1 a.m.
Because for all we know, it could have just meant a countdown till the day that I make this big announcement.
Either way, go to Oregon. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You made me stay up past my bedtime. Go to Oregon.
Yeah.
I'm just
He
kidding.
drives a Corvette.
Joking. Total jokes. He's the best player in the class. Gotta have.
Why'd you look to me like I was going to add something to
I don't know. But the actual news out of this is there is a commitment date set. So May 5th. I do think this means he's going to take an additional visit or two.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 5 weeks basically before you make your final announcement.
this
However,
was-
whole hell of a lot easier to come down to Athens for us an impromptu visit. His officials aren't scheduled till June. He's not going to get to those.
Yeah.
Unless he reschedules officials. I do think, I looked it up today, you would imagine he's flying out of Nashville or driving down to Atlanta if he were to take a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no direct flights from Nashville to Eugene, Oregon. I'm just going to let you know that right now. There's a lot of, we're going to stop in San Jose, and then we're going to go up to Eugene. We're going to stop in Salt Lake City. Then we're going to go to Eugene.
You don't think they'd fly the PJ out for him?
I don't think they're allowed to.
Well, they're not
Yeah.
allowed to. It didn't stop Tennessee from doing it.
Yeah, but they got in trouble for that until the
And then they
NCAA threw their ass out of
then they
court.
sued the NCAA, which is like, all right, we can do whatever we want.
We get to brag about this $8 million PJ.
Yeah, so I mean, I would be shocked if Jared Curtis is not on a private flight funded by Oregon. Either way,
I mean, absolutely ratting out friend of the show, Dan Lanning, right here in the middle of live television. That's crazy.
Dan, if they investigate you, just sue them and they'll back off.
Dan, if you're not flying that guy out on a PJ when we're reportedly about to give him $5 million, I think you're a little smarter than that.
I would imagine that it would be, I don't know when Oregon's spring game is, but I would imagine it would be go to Athens for their spring game and then go check out Oregon for their spring game. And then that would be the next 2 visits and then make a decision.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Inklings coming out 2 and 3 weeks ago were they're ready for this to be over. They're going to they're going to make an announcement soon. Why do you think this? I mean, we're almost a month away from the commitment date now. What changed in that time?
You never know. May 5th might be a special date to the kid.
Cinco de Mayo?
We celebrate Seso de Mayo in this household. Yeah, we're a big go to a Mexican restaurant day after. This is almost like the go buy Christmas stuff December 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Same thought process. We're going to go hit the Mexican restaurant when they are just ready to see customers because yesterday they blew the wad. Yeah, so we're a big Seso de Mayo family, and if you try to steal it, go for it.
Interesting. Well, then you have to make it.
Wife gets big old margarita, half price next day too.
Oh,
That
deal
kind of-
finder.
Yeah, she's out here grinding.
Do you think he has a decision made?
I actually had some things here that a decision made. Is it? Probably. I would think so. I think he knows where he wants to go. I think this month, this 5 weeks, is scary territory if I'm a University of Georgia head coach, because I can guarantee you with everything that I love, probably shouldn't go that heavy, I can guarantee you a mortgage check that Oregon has not given him their final offer.
No. At this point in the game,
No chance.
To that point as well, though, it's May 5th. What's stopping Oregon from, say he does commit to the University of Georgia on May 5th, you have 6 more months until early national signing day.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing stopping Oregon from giving another final offer
dang right.
before he signs pen and paper.
You're dang right. That's a good point that I didn't even think about. I mean, even if you get his verbal, you've had his verbal.
Yeah.
You've had his verbal before.
You've had
It
a
didn't
verbal
matter.
from a number 1 quarterback in the country this time last year, and you did not end up signing that quarterback
All it took was a poem.
that he allegedly wrote.
We should start writing poems around here.
No,
You think?
I'm out.
Let's deliver one tomorrow, Jay Will.
I will not be delivering a poem,
I'll
but
write
you can
Roses
go
are
ahead and do
red,
that.
violets are blue. I'm a CBK. How about you?
Wow. Just riff that one.
Nice.
I mean,
The old
roses are red, violets are blue.
Half of it's
Literally have to think of one word that rhymes with blue.
That's it.
And you're fine.
Just out here bar master. I do think it's unfortunate that I think we did a disservice to the caliber of football player Jared Curtis is because we had such film available of Bo Bentley. And the difference is we don't have that type of stuff on Jared Curtis. I don't think we have a junior highlight tape, do we?
I can check.
I don't think we have one. I think we're watching sophomore tape. And everything about Curtis, in terms of how highly valued he is, has nothing to do with tape. It has everything to do with we've seen this kid throw in person. And it is apparently that special. Every coach I've talked to is that special.
No junior tape.
No junior tape. So we're watching sophomore stuff against Timmy and Tyler, and then we go watch junior tape from Bo Bentley, and he's playing Texas high school football, and he's playing in a pro-style system, and you guys look at it, and we're breaking. And he's a great football player. Do not get me wrong. He's going to be a very, very good college quarterback, in my opinion. But it ain't what it's getting evaluated off of, which right now is look at Jared Curtis throw the ball in person. You'll understand why everyone's ready to throw anything they possibly can at him. But I'm deathly terrified if I'm Georgia of that final offer because whatever astronomical number I would imagine Oregon's thrown at him, it's about 90% of what they're available to have, I imagine.
I mean, it's the same thing that we rattle off about Georgia all the time and Kirby Smart of they see more things than we never do, and they have actually met with Jared Curtis, and they know more about him, the human, and have seen, again, him throw in person, whatever, things that we fans have not seen. If that's who they think is better than all the other possibilities in this class, then you put that same blind trust in that. The guy that has been a top 3 recruiter for the last however many years and has won back-to-back national titles, you put that blind loyalty and that staff for this decision as well, like you would anything else.
Gun to my head today is a dog. Gun to my head May 4th. Coin flip.
I'll just ask him. I'm going to put a gun to your head. I mean, I'm glad to know that you'd be honest in that situation.
I would. It's the only time. Got to put a gun to my head. I think you should play Diddyisms one more time because I got to go to the bathroom.
I was going to say, you had the... I'm glad to get in my chair.
I'm about to get up out of my chair.
Watch
yeah,
film.
so go ahead and hit that. Let's shut up and let's grind. Now, I don't know if this one's going to go in. We're going to find out, Jonathan, who is a glutton for punishment today. All right, that's what we are going to find out. I got to get hands on the penetrator. Shoot my hands and get that penetrator off. Guess who's going to come right back into my face? They're not going to put 2 Ds in one hole. So we got guys giving it up front side. We got to find the space and put it in there. All right. And big meat up front with speed behind it. All right. Dude in front of me's trying to stretch right there. That ball spit on right there from Aaron Murray. Good shit.
Bryce Young was 5-star, was he?
He didn't win a national title. Not as a starter.
Technically, he did, but...
So the chat's asking us, when was the last time a 1% choocher actually had success in college? I got a very undisclosed length of travel time tomorrow, hence why I'm standing up. I'm going to be sitting down all day tomorrow.
That's okay.
Well, I would say that, Hunter, I said, turned out to be that guy. I mean... Caleb Williams turned out to be a number 1 overall pick. He was the number 1 quarterback in the country. He didn't win a national title, but he did all the other things that you're supposed to do as a number 1 quarterback in the country. So there's a pretty recent example of that. DJ Lagway looks to be on this similar track right now at Florida. Still a lot to see from that in the next 2 years, but I think those are 2 names recently that you could point to.
Who was number 1 in 2025?
Number 1 quarterback?
Quarterback.
Raiola, wasn't he?
Oh, this past year?
Yeah, this class.
Oh, this class.
That just signed up. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head.
It wasn't the Zollers kid.
It was might be the kid that ended up at Ohio State.
It wasn't Colorado.
It wasn't Julian Lewis.
It was him for a while, but
yeah, I can't remember who it was. But there you go. I don't know how immediate success it's going to be. We'll see. But I'm of the belief, especially nowadays, that if we pay for a 5-star quarterback,
Bryce Underwood,
duh. Right? If we pay for a star quarterback, we're going to be very, very deficient in terms of funds elsewhere, unless we have a Phil Knight, unless we have, Buddy that's apparently now a Michigan fan because his wife won a national title as a fan and is like, I can't live being 7-5.
Dave Portnoy,
Mr. Oracle, multi-billionaire. So unless you got empty pockets McGee standing next to you, signing a 5-star quarterback depletes your ability to go sign other players, especially now more than ever. Used to be not so much, but now a ton. So that's a good question. It's a good thought process. I mean, we just had a discussion off air. The last 5-star quarterback to win a national title is Trevor Lawrence. And that's 2016. He did as a true freshman.
2018 is a true freshman. You're thinking Sean Watson year.
Yeah. So quite a while from blue chip status confirmed once he got to college.
Was J.J. McCarthy not a 5-star?
He might have been.
I don't believe so.
I'm just going to look it up.
I don't believe so. I remember seeing him at the Elite 11 and him not being in that echelon. That was, I think, Brock Vandegrift year with Caleb Williams.
So he was a composite 5-star.
Okay. Either way. I understand why people are like, ugh, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I do get the whole, I don't want to be throwing a full bag at one player.
Well, this is also the funny thing because...
Unless he's a dude.
Well, it's not just that. It's the aspect of you've gone 7 or 8 years now where Georgia hasn't overextended itself to sign the 5-star number 1 overall guy. And every year Georgia fans go, man, you know, what's it going to take for one of us to get these guys? When are we going to get the number 1 quarterback in the class? When are we going to get the 5-star we want? We had Justin Fields. It didn't work out for us. When is that going to happen? And now you're actually at this point where it's like, hey, this is what's going to take in today's college football to get the number 1 quarterback in the class. And a lot of people are like, you know, 5-stars don't really work out. When's the 1% arm time? And I get it. Like there's a lot of risk that goes into it, but this is what it takes to get what you want.
Let's be real about what it also is. It's the previous history with your most recent quarterback and having a lot of money attached to his name and all the flashiness about it. That's what a lot of this is rooted in is we don't want another one of those.
Yeah.
When you're flashing a red Corvette on your Instagram story, that's immediately what you're getting attached to from Georgia fans.
And when you're just dangling bait in front of media members at 1 o'clock. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're mad at you.
Really mad about the 17-year-old forcing me to refresh his Instagram last night at 1 o'clock in the morning. Boy, did I feel weird.
Yeah.
Man, I almost tweeted about that today. I love my job, and I love covering recruits. My least favorite thing to do, refreshing social medias of a young teenager.
Oof. Just put the post notifications on.
Dude, but you might miss it, though. You might not get the noti.
Yeah, it might not get the noti. It happens all the time, especially when you're like, I got like 70 different people on it. 3 different accounts or 3 different, social media apps on alerts, you know? So, and not to mention, I mean, shit, since we've been here, I've gotten 8 text messages and 3 missed phone calls during the show. You know, that's just the actual communication that I have to pay attention to. What'd you hunt about?
Speaking of, let me read it before we put it on the.
Okay, we got some news.
Apparently, Dalen Everett's limited due to an injury.
Been limited. He's got he had
the hernia, sports hernia.
Sports hernia. Been limited.
It's just now being reported by a certain. So.
Oh, doing your job. I mean, I
don't know if it was a breaking report or if it was just reiterating since
we're an industry that works off of time. Like you got to get those things.
I'm sure. I have faith that it had been reported, but that probably just reiterating it.
Okay. Kirby had some comments today, sitting down with Josh Pate, friend of the show, about his coaching performance in 2024. Does anybody have the actual quote here instead of me paraphrasing it? I know we wrote about it today.
I can get it pulled up.
But he basically had the opinion that the 2024 season was their best coaching performance since he's been at Georgia. Do you have the exact quote, Jonathan?
Yes, I do. He said, best coaching job we have done by far, 100%. We were not better than some of the years previous, and we had twice the schedule some of the years previous. So the naysayers, to the onlookers, to the people that don't know, I respect everyone's opinion. You can have an opinion. You can do what you want with it. I know football, and I know the level, and I know the level of schedule we had to play. I know the roster we did it with, and I know the injuries we had. By far and away, the best job our staff and our organization has done easily. To go through the gauntlet, number 1, to get into the SEC championship was an accomplishment with that schedule.
I think there's one massive lie in there.
I know football.
No, that's not a lie.
Yeah, I didn't know a damn
There's
thing.
a massive lie in there.
Oh, you said lie. Yeah, I thought you said line.
No, there's a massive lie in there. I respect everybody's opinion. No, he doesn't. And I'm going to tell you that here in a second. But I do think he's being truthful in his own mind, man. They were the worst version of themselves a year ago. I mean, the worst version of what Georgia looks like and what we expect Georgia football to be. You know, they were really banged up. They didn't have players executing. I also understand the backlash to this comment, right? I understand Georgia fans clutching pearls and doing their thing here because your standard as a fan base now, because of his excellence and the football program's excellence, is utter domination. That's what you expect. Every time you roll the ball out there, Georgia's going to beat the shit out of everybody. And if we don't, we're not good enough. And if we're not good enough, somebody better get fired. It's not going to be Kirby, but somebody better get fired if we're not out here dominating opponents, because that's what we've become accustomed to. And it's been 2 years since we've done that. That's the standard Georgia fan at DogFan967 on Twitter. That's what he's talking about, okay? The guys that are constantly in my mentions bickering, bitching, and moaning about not winning a national title, those are the guys that he's talking about right there. And I understand that we've been this. Why aren't we still this? Something must be wrong. I understand that thought process, and I'm sympathetic to that thought process. Reality is, like I said, you expect to be the best team in the nation. You don't expect to lose to Notre Dame. You don't.
Nope.
You don't expect to get your doors blown off against Ole Miss. That's not what you expect. I also can tell you that, like I said, there was one big lie in there. I respect everybody's opinion. No, he does not. No, he does not. I can tell you from people that I speak with in that building, they do not care what the fan base thinks, okay? They don't care if you hate Bobo. They don't care whether or not you trust Kirby Smart's decision-making at the quarterback position. I have a direct quote, if they want to second-guess the face of college football, let them. Let them. That's the way they think about what they got going on inside the building. They know what they do works, and they don't venture away from it, okay? So if you don't like it, that's tough, but I promise you right now, he does not respect your opinion. He does not care about your opinion. I once asked somebody in the building after, during the season, we get a bunch of, damn, Kirby rocks with Brooks. You can tell by the press conference interactions. I once had the nerve to ask a source that's close to Kirby, hey, what do you think he thinks about me? And the answer was, I don't think he ever gives you a thought because he's a robot. And formulating opinion about Brooks Austin doesn't help him win football games. So he doesn't give a shit. All right, was the answer. And I think that's the same answer when he gets someone rolling a text message across his desk saying, hey, coach, Paul Feinbaum fired Mike Bobo today, and the Georgia fans are all on it. They calling the man Bobo the Bozo. All right, he don't care. He doesn't. So,
I mean, it is something to be said that in a season where you would sum it up as there was drop issues with the wide receiver room, you couldn't run the ball effectively, your quarterback was turning the ball over, and Georgia was not the standard in the run game that they typically are. If you told someone preseason that with the schedule that you knew was on the horizon, you probably say, don't make that SEC championship game, might be the 12th seed or the 11th seed in the playoff. Instead, you were a top 4 seed, first round bye, won the SEC championship
and
game.
What you didn't even mention is the worst defense since 2016 statistically. They had the worst defense since 2016, had the worst offense since 2016, were outside the top 100 in rushing yards per game, and won the damn conference. That's a hell of a coaching job. Just based off of the box scores and the stats. Somebody told me today, stats don't lie.
Yes, they do.
That's all they do, Bubba. They lie. The film don't lie.
All right. Who said that?
Somebody in my mention, DogFan679. Yeah, DogFan679 on Twitter be hellacious with the takes.
They don't lie unless it's, let me pull up Mike Bobo's stats from 2014.
Those lie. Mike Bobo's stats, they lie. The fact that Mike Bobo has the 2 highest scoring points per game totals in Georgia football history, that's a lying stat because he's trash.
Well, he had good
has
talent.
to be trash.
The talent around him helped him.
Oh, the talent. That's right.
I did have a question about this, though, of should this be alarming heading into the 2025 season of you knew what you were in 2024 now, especially with hindsight, and here Kirby is telling you it took our best coaching job for us to get to where we were last season, and now you've lost 8 starters on the defense, you've lost your starting quarterback, you've lost 2 wide receivers, you've lost 4 starting offensive linemen. Is that alarming to you now heading into this season?
I want to say, obviously, quick answer is yes. You're losing all this talent combined with the fact that last year was supposedly your worst season since you got to the school. But then you look at it, all the issues Georgia had, There was never a time last year where it felt like the talent's just not adequate. Not when they were down 28 to Alabama, not when they were losing to Ole Miss in the fourth quarter, not when they were getting handled by Notre Dame in the first half. It never felt like the talent is inadequate here. It was always the execution is wrong here. So-and-so is making mistakes. This receiver room, the running back room's fumble. Like, inopportune times. It took coaching to overcome that. I don't think that was a talent issue. I think that if you hear about all the same things of, yeah, there's going to be a lot of drops this year, yeah, there's going to be a lot of inopportune fumbles, there's going to be a lot of injuries, players are not going to play up to the level that you'd expect them to, yeah, I'd be absolutely worried. But I would like to believe that last year was so far from the norm that I'm not necessarily worried that Kirby Smart had to turn in and his staff had to turn in their best coaching job last year.
I wish I had the stat in front of me because it was really pointed to the lack of execution last year. It was basically an execution stat that I think Minnesota keeps, where it's the percentage of plays that either end in a negative or offensively end in a negative, have a penalty, any type of pre-snap penalty, any type of post-snap penalty, and any type of missed assignments or just guys not doing the right thing. And the number has to be under 11%. So says the model. The model says successful offense looks like minor execution rates under 11%. Georgia was over 13.5% last year. 13.5% of their plays either ended in a negative, meaning somebody got their ass whipped, or we didn't do the right thing, or we had a pre-snap penalty, or we had a post-snap penalty, or we blatantly missed an assignment. That's not winning football. All right. So people in the chat, I have questions or I have concerns about whether or not our offense actually does improve this year. To you guys, I would point to that. I would say, first of all, look how banged up you were last year. Second of all, you did not execute at the rate you should have a year ago offensively. And I think a lot of that gets cleaned up based off how they're practicing right now. If you've been listening or reading what we've got available on patreon.com/Brooks Austin, you will hear that they have, quote unquote, returned to the basics. It has been, we got stock options coming up. I am buying fundamentals as a stock option this spring. They have been hammering fundamentals. I got a nug for you guys on board drill as well. We might demonstrate what board drill looks like to the uninitiated here.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Just line it up right quick.
Who you going against?
Who am I going against? I ain't competing for playing time right here, boys.
Shit, either.
You know what I mean? I ain't competing for playing time. Just kidding. Maybe not. I got some pads in the garage if you two ever get a little chippy. Did you keep your equipment? I stole every piece of equipment I
don't have my shoulder pads. I still have my helmet.
I dared coaches to send me a bill. Come on, dog. Just like I do with the damn who are those goofy bastards that tell you got to roll your trash can in your neighborhood?
The HOA?
Yeah. No, they got to come see me about my money every year. You got multiple things sent to the house. You're in delinquent of payment. Go on, send the bill collector out here too. I don't care if you charge me an extra 10%. I'm gonna make you earn that whatever money costs the HOA every year.
Maybe I should bring my lid one day.
Yeah. Bring the lid.
I miss it.
Speaking of bring the lid, I'll go ahead and give you the board drill nug here.
Ooh.
Now, I've given this one out on Patreon. This is my favorite thing that I think I've heard of Kirby Smart doing at practice. And this might be something he does every year, but it's new to me. I haven't heard of this, okay? So they have video cameras, boys, in all of the meeting rooms, okay? And again, an absolute sycophant. The dude looks at everything. He studies everything. I don't like how I'm off-centered here. He studies everything, okay? He has been looking through practice or meeting room film, okay? The film of the players themselves in the meeting rooms. And if he catches you sleeping, he writes your name down. And at the end of practice, he sets up board drill. And he says, I got so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so out here sleeping in practice. We clearly got guys that ain't buying in. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to get some of these dogs, all right, out here on this board drill, and we're going to let everybody know who is out here slacking, who is out here basically cheating their football team, and who is out here not living to the Georgia standard. And we're going to take somebody who is of the Georgia standard, and we're going to let that man whip that ass right here in front of the whole team in board drill. For those of you who don't know what board drill is, I literally set a board. Nowadays, they're rubber. Back in the day, they were a 2x6.
Rubber mats,
we're going to
baby.
set a board. Went to a high school a couple of years ago that still had physical boards out there.
Yeah.
We're going to put a rubber mat down on the ground. We're going to put two football players about 3 yards from one another in a three-point stance. and they gonna collide. And whoever drives whoever off the board wins the rep. I love the idea that we're taking, slappies who ain't paying attention, who ain't doing it right, and making them go head to head against alphas on the football team in a board drill setting. I don't know how your football program ran things, Kirby, when you play ball. But in high school, we had what was called the Ring of Fire.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, we had the Ring of Fire. And what the Ring of Fire was, me and you get a little chippy during a show, I'm calling you out, Ring of Fire, end of practice. And we are going until one of us drives the other one into the ground or out of the circle.
Oh, that's not what our Ring of Fire was.
No. We had a whole ass ring of the football team around two people doing board drills.
Do you want to hear how pre-concussion our Ring of Fire was? So our Ring of Fire was, and this was not in high school. This was in Little League and middle school. I knew you were going to start doing that. We'd all hold hands and make a circle, and their coach would say one player's name, and you'd start running around the ring.
Oh, that's bull in the ring.
Yeah, and then the other player would have to go around the other
opposite way.
Just a full-on collision.
Yeah.
And they would do that. That was like a 15-minute practice.
Yeah. That's good stuff. The softening of America took that drill out.
For real, dude.
I don't need
my brain.
Honestly, it's why we don't have men nowadays, because we're not out here ring of firing and bull in the ringing. And giving people CTE at 16. So that's unfortunate for the common state of America. But it is what it is. But yeah, I like this idea of you're slacking, he's a grinder. We're going to let everybody know that this is why he's better than you right here. Now, I'm not privy to who actually won the reps. Like when y'all set up 9 board drills of 9 dudes that do it right against 9 dudes who don't. Did you go 4 and 5? You know what I mean? Like, how did that go? Because it could blow back, right?
Sure.
You got those 9 slappies that are sleeping through meetings out here just working the shit out of the dudes who actually do it right.
But I think it's also from a message standpoint. You're just setting the tone of, I'm watching everything, and you're not going to get away with it, and I'm going to subliminally call you out.
I think it would be even better if it was like just a name off the wall here. If it was like Andre Evans sleeping in meetings, the corner, and it's like, you know what, Andre? Come on out here. Board drill right now. Michael Morris. I think that would be like a real, I ain't sleeping in meetings no more. They go send a whole ass bear after me. So interesting. Stock options. Spring version. What spring stocks are you buying? I got 5-1. OLI fundamentals. I'm buying the hell out of some fundamental stock. Number 5. I'm buying Dylan Bell stock, and I know this sounds crazy, but here's why. With the addition or the return of Colby Young, the addition of Noah Thomas, the addition of CJ Wiley, I don't think we necessarily need Dylan Bell playing X this year, which means he can return back to the gadget type of player that he was in 2023. Big year for him in 2023. I had a lot of optimism going into 2024 because of the year in 2023, playing this gadget role. Give me Dylan Bell stock right now. I think it's as low as it's ever going to be. I'm going to buy it up.
It's so funny because I think this time last year was as high as it was ever going to be.
Facts.
He had come off that really, really impressive Tennessee game. He looked great in the Florida State game. Like, there was a lot of hype coming around Dylan Bell, and he kind of got forced into that role that he probably isn't naturally supposed to play. It's going to be very good to see, and I think he will return to kind of that gadgety role. So.
Well, I think now more than ever, you can manufacture mismatches with Dylan Bell now. It's not just relying on, all right, Dylan, you have to beat this one player in front of you.
I'm going to buy one of the players in the receiver room. I didn't know if we were going all the way around.
Go ahead.
I'm going to buy one of the players in the receiver room that I don't think is kind of getting enough love right now, kind of going under the radar.
Oh, and you know why?
Why?
He's not Ladd McConkey enough. He don't have the gritty white guy look about him. He's 6'3", 205.
I'm shocked that you knew who I was going to do.
Yeah, because even I remember forget him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm buying London Humphrey stock. I think in a world where Zachariah Branch and Dylan Bells and all the other Colby Youngs of the world, London Humphreys was an extremely reliable asset for you in the back half of that 2024 season, especially when guys went down. And we even heard as he transferred in was, hey, he might not necessarily be fully ready to play Georgia football, even though he was in the SEC. He's got a full year under his belt. He's going to have a full spring by the time he comes in. He's going to have 2 full springs, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
I think he's a guy who's going to make some steps for you and will become a reliable Z.
I got a player comp for you. Ed McCaffrey.
I like that. I like Ed McCaffrey.
I like this. I'll keep it in the wide receiver room. This is I'm buying stock in this to be the I don't know how to, like the spark player, I guess you could say. Sokovie White.
Come on now.
The wide receiver room has a whole bunch of names that you have to list down before maybe you start getting into the Sokovie White range. But I'm talking about the player who, in his 5 in-game reps, he's going to make one play that, I want some more Sokovie White. I want some more of that. Like the bring you back shot they say in golf. This is what Sokovie White's going to be this year. Of like, I need some more Sokovie White now. Keep feeding him to me.
Number 4 on my list. Okay. Now, you got to be real careful when you do these things in my industry, because I say one good thing about one player and immediately y'all throw the other player into the portal. He must suck. Yeah. So I'm buying this stock because I think the other one is way too high priced and this one is not getting enough love, and it's DeMello Jones. Okay. Now, Ellis Robinson is going to be a great football player at the University of Georgia. I believe that. I don't think he's going anywhere either. I think he's bought into the process. All right. People that I've spoke to close to the Ellis Robinson camp ain't going nowhere. So there's that. However, that number 15, that DeMello Jones dude, 6'2", 205, runs like a deer, can cover man to man. I'm buying DeMello Jones stock, all right? And I've been buying it back since December when he enrolled last year. Immediately got on campus and they were like, "Oh, we might have found us one."
Yeah, you're loading up on the DeMello Jones stock.
Got to.
I'm going to go on the offensive side. I'm going to stay on, actually, all the ones I have are on offensive. But this is a guy who, his stock isn't low necessarily, but it definitely, I'll just put it, he's one of the guys who probably should not be here right now if he had the season that we anticipated him having last year. I'm buying Oscar Delp.
Oh, I was going to guess.
Oh, you're back on the ground now.
No, I'm fixing my chair.
You just see his head pop up in frame.
I'm buying Oscar Delp stock because you have very rarely, I can't think of the last true senior you've had in the tight end room that's leading it. It's always been really talented guys that lead.
Oh, Mans forgets about Charlie Warner? What in the world?
But like from a talent standpoint as well. And Charlie Warner was a great tight end for Georgia, and he's still on an NFL roster, and he was a great Y. I'm talking, and Oscar Delp might end up playing Y a little bit for you. I think Oscar Delp was one of the guys that is going to be centered around what the offenses is. We've heard that he's kind of been a safety net for Gunner at some point. I'm buying Oscar Delp stock.
To be honest, I was doing a bit.
I think you're still doing a bit, dude. You've got like 1/3 of, there you are. Hey.
The Elias Williams stock right there. There's a picture of it.
This is a great pumpkin.
Yeah. Who you got? Oh, shit.
I kind of similar to London Humphreys right here. I feel like this is a player that always is getting kind of not being mentioned when you talk about this position group, and for no reason in particular. But I feel like we haven't talked about Xavier McLeod at all, and I think a lot of that has to do with what Christian Miller did last year, and that is certainly the focal point of the defensive line. But you want to talk about a room that is going to need names to step up, and a name that had some flashes last year and put on some good tape. Xavier McLeod is certainly one of those players, and I think he's going to play a big role for Georgia's defensive line this year, and I think that he's going to have a big season.
Or as we call him around here, Xavier McLeod.
Yeah, so much so you made me say it last time I mentioned it.
Yeah, you slipped up.
I did.
I made that mistake once. I'm not doing it again.
That is CTE through osmosis.
I probably got a little bit of it too.
Just that.
Just every now and again, I stutter on a word and piss my pants, forget who I am. I might have a little bit of.
Got to go to the grocery store with directions to get home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting there. We're close. I'm buying Elijah Griffin and Juan Gaston freshman All-American stock.
Ooh, that's a lot of buying.
Yeah. So this isn't just I'm buying the stock of them as players. Everyone's doing that. I'm buying Juan Gaston, Elijah Griffin, end of year, started or played in 9-10 games, freshman All-American.
Is Juan Gaston a day one starter, do you think?
Are
you buying that stock?
Would be everywhere else.
Right.
Every other program in the world, day one starter. Looks the part right now. You know what I mean? And always has. This was a guy who was like, that's an NFL like first rounder as a 16-year-old at 380 pounds at 6'7", 6'8". Now he's like 335. All right. And he moved freakishly at 380. I can't imagine what he looks like now moving. But every person that's been at practice that's spoken to us has been like, yo, that Juan Gaston dude. Whew.
He might be the freshman this year.
Yeah.
I'll stick with the offensive line room. I'm taking your boy. I'm buying Drew Bobo stock.
Oh. Turn me up one time.
I think that Drew Bobo in that Auburn game, and I believe it was the Mississippi State game when Jared Wilson was hurt, proved that he is not only a suitable starter for your team, he is an experienced player. He can start SEC ball. He's going to be a very reliable aspect in that offensive line room that has lost a ton of starters. And I know we've said, 4 starters out of that room. Drew Bobo started some games for you last year, has real in-game experience. I trust Drew Bobo. I'm buying the stock.
You know the number one reason why I love Drew Bobo?
Why do you love Drew Bobo? Plays like you.
Oh, boy, he ugly. Ooh, man. I don't want my offensive lineman to look pretty. I don't. I want my offensive lineman to look like they breathe through their mouth 24/7. I want my offensive lineman to look like they eat crayons every once in a while. You know what I mean? That's what I'm asking them to do. I'm asking them to run their face through people for a living. I don't want no business scholar out here grinding on the offensive line. I want a big ugly. That's why they call big uglies. I want me a big ugly. And Drew Bobo, no wrist tape. I don't even think motherfucker wear a mouthpiece. All right, like no drip on dude at all. Just all screws.
Football.
All screws and football.
Put your jersey on and go outside.
Yep. Don't come in this house. You too dirty. Stay outside.
This player I'm buying stock in because for a room that is having 4 starters leave, and I think that he's going to provide. And he's gotten playing time over the past couple of years. He's been rotated in, and it feels like it's finally his time where he's going to get a bit of the spotlight. I'm going to buy me some Micah Morris stock this spring. I think that's a good addition to a room that you need some experience. You don't have a whole lot of it. He certainly provides some of that.
I ain't trying to see Papa Morris after a football game this year. All right, so play right so I can talk good about you and great about you because I think great's in there.
Am I missing a story that'll be?
Probably.
All right.
It was cordial.
Yeah.
It was cordial.
We'll talk off air.
How'd you like my effort today type vibe? One of those. I appreciated it. I like getting checked, especially if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I'm wrong.
Okay.
Don't get checked a lot.
Don't get checked that often. Chris Cole as an edge rusher.
Give me the stock. One.
Give me the stock. Not Chris Cole, the linebacker. Everybody's already bought that stock. I'm talking about Chris Cole, the edge rusher. Give me that one.
I like that one. All right, I'm doing this one in a room where there's some names. There's one obvious name that everyone's paying attention to. I think experience and skill set and the way that you're going to be using the offense are very valuable. I'm buying Cass Jones stock for that reason. I know he's probably never going to be the down-to-down running back that you typically see in Georgia's offense, but out of the passing game, he was a massive threat. And I think we saw how big of an aspect of that passing game he can be in the Notre Dame game and in the Georgia Tech game. Throughout the last 3 games for Georgia, as a matter of fact, him out of the backfield as a receiving threat was very, very valuable. I think he's going to continue to be that.
I don't have any more stock.
I got a Zach Branch purchase.
I had a Zach Branch purchase.
Not that you can
well.
get that one cheap. That's like like buying.
Of his career, though, this would probably be the time to buy it.
Right.
You want to hear he had a little bit of it down here at USC?
I'm taking Zachariah Branch, kick returner.
Ooh.
Give me that stock.
Zion Branch sounds like he's playing well during spring ball. A lot more violent and instinctual than they thought based off what he put on tape at USC. So that's good news. All right. Georgia's biggest obstacles entering the 2025 season. Here's the rule. Can't mention the schedule. Okay?
Oh.
Can you? You can mention the schedule?
I'll just clear my notes then.
I think it's important. Number one important thing. Can the wide receivers and the quarterback get on the same page? Okay? Because I think we're in different chapters last year at times, to be honest with you. Start of the year, a lot of, I thought you were doing this and you did that. Bad. Can't have that. And towards the end of the year, we had so much, I thought you were going to do this, but you did that we started dropping footballs left and right. So that wasn't great either. I think that's got to get cleaned up. Number 2, massive obstacle for this football team. They have very little experience. Mm-hmm. This is the least amount of experience the Georgia football team's had since I've covered them. All right. This is a lot of young players now. They're supremely talented, but it's a lot of guys who ain't played ball at the University of Georgia, at least. Number 3, way too many depth chart questions right now. Way too many. Who's going to be the safety? Who's going to be the third down nickel? Who's going to play right guard and right tackle? Who's going to play defensive end and jack? Now, a lot of these positions have tremendously talented human beings at them, right? We look at right guard and right tackle. It's looking like Daniel Calhoun and probably Ernest Green with a little bit of mixture of Juan Gaston, a little bit of mixture of Bo Hewley, a little bit of mixture of football players that every other team in the country wished that they had the option to play as opposed to searching for answers. So there's good news there, but there's a lot of going into the year. We don't know who's going to be playing where at 3 major positions, 3 or 4 major positions for this football program. Number 4. Can you stay healthy? A little bit of a cop-out, but like a real obstacle in the 2024 season that can't rear its head in 2025. Number 5, and I think maybe one of the more important ones, everyone talks about the run game and the outside the top 100 rushing yards per game, but it wasn't due to a fact of a lack of commitment to the run game. It was a lack of inefficiency and explosivity in the run game. They have no explosives in the run game last year. They've got to have those return to this Georgia roster. I think balancing the count with at least a threat to run the football. I don't want Gunnar Stockton running the ball more than 10, 11 attempts per game. Don't get me wrong. He's not Tim Tebow. But he's at least somebody who defensive ends are going to get told all week, hey, he can pull this.
Yeah.
All right, which will hold.
And I mean, we saw that immediately when he came in the Texas game in the second half. Trevor Etienne busted off a really big run because that backside end was being held on his own read. So stuff like that where he might not have 500 rushing yards this season, but he's going to do just enough to improve that running game. I think it's a very big one. Was that all of your threats? Or?
Yep, that's it.
I've got an obstacle, and I've kind of talked about this one before. The potential what?
This tells you how inundated my feed is right now. Do y'all know we got fast pitch softball players throwing 78 miles an hour now underhanded? Bro, when I was watching softball in like the mid 2010s when it was big, who was the chick from Tennessee that threw gas?
I can't remember.
She was like 71, 72. We got girls out here hit 78. Whew, en fuego. Sorry.
Good for her.
Working with me's got to be tough. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I just had to remind myself where I was. I had some CTE.
Me too.
The potential lack of culture, I think, is going to be a really big aspect and a really big obstacle for this team. We've talked about it. Since 2021, that championship culture that was built has slowly been eroding. You saw in 2022, there were closer games. 2023, even more closer games. Lost to Alabama. I think it came to a really ugly head in 2024 to the point where now they have to kind of reset that foundation and get a new culture in. By the way, you mentioned they're doing it with guys that have less and less experience than ever before. So that's their biggest obstacle, I think. That winning culture of being able to pull games out or even not put yourself in a situation where you're trailing Auburn on the road by 7, stuff like that, or, you're down against Ole Miss. You have to have the culture to not put yourself in those situations. And if you get in those situations, pull them out. And I don't know if the experience and the just lack of that is going to allow you to have that this year. There's plenty of talent to do it, and there's enough alphas on the roster. We've alluded that KJ Bolden and guys like that can be the leaders and set up that culture quickly. But, what we saw in 2021, because it is, the perfect example of a perfect year for Georgia, that was a long time coming. That was being built in 2018 and 19 and 20. This has got to be a quick turnaround here. So I think that's your biggest obstacle. Another obstacle you kind of alluded to, inopportune injuries. Yeah. Not just, the injuries, because that's part of the game. Losing your quarterback at the end of the first half in the SEC championship game, right before you're about to go on a playoff run, that's inopportune. Losing your starting guard in the middle of an SEC game, your first SEC game of the season when you play Alabama 2 weeks later,
not great.
That's inopportune. Losing your first round edge, the first series of the game,
the midway through second,
midway through first half of the first game of the season, inopportune. Stuff like that, I don't think it happened. You have to expect injuries are going to come in the game. Maybe come at more opportune times. Yeah. Not that there's ever really an opportune time with the schedule, but one where you go, damn, we're going to need him next week.
Staying on injury, and it's going to sound like a broken record, the running back health status this year.
God.
I mean, it feels like we say this every single year, but it continues to be this of, you're a Nate Frazier injury away from it's Cash Jones and hopefully Branson is healthy by then, or hopefully Roderick Robinson is ready to go by then, or you might be saying it's Chauncey Bowens and Cash Jones for a week. So, the health status of all those guys, every single one of them on that depth chart is super important leading up into this season. The lack of familiarity, obviously a lot of new faces in the wide receiver room, offensive line, quarterback who's going to be his first time as a full-time starter anywhere on that roster. The lack of familiarity, and then the defensive depth. I mean, every single position you go at. I mean, you lose one starter in that room, and it feels a little uneasy. And as it goes every single year, I mean, you mentioned like you can't go season without him, but it seems like there's always a point in the season where there's one starter that's going to be out for the next 1 to 2 weeks. And it's like, whoa, that feels like a major loss. I don't know what we're going to do for these next 2 weeks. I mean, that's kind of where it feels like you're at a lot of positions on the defensive side of the football.
Absolutely. All right, so the boys will be here Tuesday and Thursday night. I'm taking the rest of the week of show off to return to my football pilgrimage. It's been cool, man. Like the last several stops have been position coaches that respect our work and say, yeah, I'll open my doors to these guys or this guy. And these next several stops are actually head coaches that have agreed to open the doors. It's normally like, hey, position coach walks in and goes, hey, man, I got this guy that I really respect. Is it okay if he comes around and hangs out with me for a little while and maybe we let him go into other rooms? These next 2 stops are head football coaches that have been like, absolutely, dude, we'd love to have you up here. Come on up and absorb what we got going on. So Tuesday through Friday, I'll be at 2 different stops and excited to I got the rental car today. We'll be headed out tomorrow morning, bright and early, within driving range. So that's your only tip. And the 2 schools are within driving range of one another. You know what I mean?
That doesn't really narrow it down considering you drove 15 hours.
I don't think they're the same conference. I did drive 15 hours to Texas.
Yeah. So that doesn't really narrow it down, guys.
Hey, I did too.
You drove?
I rode. He wouldn't let me drive.
A lot of Snapchats of the roof of the rental car.
Dude, I have someone to talk to.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I'm not talking to
Bro is too busy singing Young Dolph.
You don't sing Young Dolph, bro. You rap Young Dolph.
My bad, Rod Wave.
He's not R&B.
Yeah, he's not R&B like Rod Wave.
Dog. I do need to get some new tunage, man. Good Lord. I just don't have enough bandwidth for new shit. All right. Appreciate you guys for being here. The boys will be here tomorrow night. Make sure you show up and support those guys. We'll have another film study coming out tomorrow. A little spoiler alert, it's John Mateer. But if you haven't watched the Nuss film study, please, man, just support this show, man. I don't get it.
Please.